Hello and welcome back to Chat About It, Don't Shout About It with me, Rachel, the Queen of the Woke, as crowned by one of my haters. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Around 90% of you are returning viewers. You are not yet subscribed, so please come and join us if you would like to. Thank you to everyone who's joined me already. I can't run this channel without you. There is no Chat About It, Don't Shout About It without the subscribers. Now, last week we took a deep dive into the war games in colour, and this week we are going to try and attempt a palate cleanser with the God Complex, as voted by you, the subscribers. If you would like to vote on the current poll, then please head on over to the community page where you will find it. The God Complex is a Matt Smith 11th Doctor story. It was written by Toby Whithouse, directed by Nick Curran, and it received 6.77 million people in viewership. The Doctor, Amy, and Rory land in a hotel. This hotel seems to be quiet and never ending. They meet other travellers in the foyer and they discover that other supposed guests at this hotel are going missing, and there is a room with everyone's fear. Rory has nothing that he fears. He's shown the exit to escape. The others all have something to fear, including the Doctor, and therefore has no escape route. They also have faith in something that keeps them hanging on to their life until they discover their room and start saying, "Praise him," and they succumb and become food for a Minotaur. The Doctor discovers, when they trap the Minotaur, that he is in fact in prison. What can the Doctor do in order to free the Minotaur? This story is a story that I always feel I never truly understand. I don't know if this is because it is convoluted or not. It's probably not, because the resolution seems to be quite a simple one. It's not rushed, but from what I've been able to put together, it's quite metaphorical. We all know that Stephen Moffat is not religious, so unsurprisingly, he would have commissioned a story in Doctor Who that would have targeted religion and faith. Amy's faith in the Doctor was the resolution to get this prison to close. Amy has to renounce her faith in the Doctor. We see the Doctor breaking her down. Stephen Moffat is notorious for bashing religion. This one, and how it's done, is better than Boom, naturally. Boom was his most savage expose into bashing religion, in my opinion. But in this case, another writer did it for the God Complex. This may be why this one was better. It's not as savage as a typical Moffat trope, but I also think that if Moffat had written it, then it would have been a lot scarier. Anyway, back to Amy. It's funny in many respects with this particular story because every single companion will have some faith in the Doctor. Amy fearing that she would lose her faith in the Doctor in many respects doesn't make sense. I think it would make much more sense if she fears his betrayal, which in hindsight that is essentially what it is on the surface, a betrayal, but that would go against Moffat's criticism of people clutching onto their faith, their hope. Plus, not only that, surely Amy's faith would be restored. Surely that is contradictory. For that reason, this could be convoluted in itself. Now, before I actually continue with the review, let's talk about Karen Gillan. I will never say an actor or an actress is bad. I know what it's like. I've been there, done it, got the t-shirt and everything that goes with it. I also know I am not one to talk when it comes to saying what I am about to say, because I'm very guilty of doing this as well. I've got no issue with Karen using her native accent, which is Scottish. However, I wish she would work on her diction. Her diction gets lost in her accent. I'm not saying she should actually pull back her accent. She's from a generation of actors, I think, where she probably didn't have to do that. Nowadays, they like to encourage actors to use their native accents. When I was training, I had to pull mine back. But there's always something that's lost within the realms of her accent with her diction in everything I have seen her do. And that's not just Doctor Who. Back to the God Complex. I've never really known what to make of this story. I don't necessarily think it's a bad story, but it's not the best. It has the Moffat tropes and challenges someone's mind by getting them to try and work it out, for sure. But this type of story has been done in Big Finish as well, a very early one, and it was a Colin Baker one, and it was called The Holy Terror. Now, they didn't use a Minotaur in that. The premise for it was a little bit different. I don't think it is a retelling, though, of The Holy Terror, because The Holy Terror is much more darker than the God Complex itself. I also think there's too many characters in this story, so hear me out. This is no Horror of Fang Rock. Horror of Fang Rock is a million times better than this story, 100%. Bottled episodes work very well for the most part with few characters in it. I love a good bottled episode, but depending on the type of bottled episode we are to get dictates how many characters we should probably have. I think they should take this concept and have made it smaller. Remove it from the hotel situation and put them into a bed and breakfast situation instead. Bed and breakfasts have very few rooms in them. I think it would have been scarier had there been fewer characters and have it more confined. Also, should it have been a Minotaur? I think just having crazy puppets would be enough to send me doolally in this particular story. I don't mind it being a Minotaur, but why that specific mythological creature? Why would a Minotaur take your faith and fear to feed on it? I think that the basis of this story is within the realms of Greek mythology because King Minos has the Minotaur put into the labyrinth, which is a maze and inescapable. Again, the notion of science is within Greek mythology, or that's what basically starts certain Greek mythological laws. The puppet scene is easily the scariest scene for me, though. Hands down, my room would either be autons or spiders. The converting of faith into food, how is that for a notion? Feeding off the power of someone's faith. I find it a bit weird. It's that Bible blasphemous bashing that Moffat is well known for again, isn't it, really? This notion of the power of faith feeds someone's strength, Whithouse is essentially implying it's total BS. Now, as far as I'm concerned, you can be agnostic, a theist, or an atheist. Moffat is very good at plugging one side at the detriment to the other, and Whithouse seems to do the same. It's not as bad as Boom, where he gets the Doctor to lay into religion with no pushback until one line at the end. Other than that, neither writer seems to be very imaginative when it comes to Doctor Who, when it comes to writing for religion. Whilst Joy to the World is extremely problematic, I don't mind the religious imagery. It wasn't very creative beyond that, because he implies that religion doesn't exist or it began because of science. It's the same basis here. Whithouse puts on a front about a religion metaphorically being a prison, and there's a scientific root with it as well. I would say that this review is probably getting really convoluted right now, because that is essentially how I feel about this story now that I've actually sat down, talked about it, reviewed it in great detail. I do feel like this episode, for a bottled episode, doesn't have enough urgency. There's a lot of chatty and not enough running from the fears. The opening was intense, but I would say the reveal of the fear being a gorilla seemed to be a bit ridiculously anticlimactic. We get to see the weeping angels, but once again, they ended up being anticlimactic. David Walliams seemed to be more of a stunt casting rather than having anything integral to do. Howard's fear of a group of girls berating him for being a nerd would seem a more plausible idea, because I know that's what some men fear, as is Rita's fear of being reprimanded about her grades by her father, and that is definitely a fear that a lot of people actually have in today's world. Amy's fear is representative of the viewer's fear, and I do like the fact that we don't really know what the Doctor's fear truly is, although it's implied it's something to do with the cloister bell and the TARDIS. Probably the death of the TARDIS or his own demise. Who knows, really? But it's an interesting one that the Doctor's fear remains undisclosed, but he does actually have one. But does that also mean he has some kind of faith as well? Or does that mean that he does not have any kind of faith because he did not actually succumb and say praise him? I would have liked for that questioning scene with Howie to play out for longer. I guess it would have been potentially too much like midnight had they done so, but it would have been great nonetheless. If we had got more of it, it probably would have added more depth to what they were really running from. Not to say that there wasn't any depth to it. The scene with the Doctor and the Minotaur is actually one of the best bits. Matt Smith plays it with dignity and a delicacy that can be lost with some Doctors. Now let's talk about Matt briefly. I like his Doctor. I find him a bit zany at times. When he comes in as the first Doctor, it's very clear that he's not really sure where he's going with it. He had been the youngest Doctor since Peter Davison, and I think that sometimes with the Doctor, you do need that of an older actor, because he is supposed to be much older than what he actually looks. And there's a saying in acting called act your age. Now, obviously, we are not going to find a 900-plus-year-old man, but age means experience and maturity. It's no wonder that with actors like Peter Davison and Matt Smith, you see them grow into the role once they know the direction they need to go in and they begin to apply their experiences to it. I do feel that he has grown into it at this point, but also he's not really grown into it at this point either. He's still finding his way to make his character old. he gets there in the next series for sure. He certainly has the smarts and he definitely applies it here in this story. He does, however, speak too fast at times, and he's much stronger when he slows it down. Less is more. Sometimes stage to TV actors forget the screen is smaller. It is easier to pull back the energy rather than upping the game. He does the ending scene really well, plays it smoothly, and he explains that he doesn't want to end up standing on their graves, which ironically he does in Angels in Manhattan. Well, that's what I think. Let me know what you think. Chat about it, don't shout about it. Like and subscribe. I will see you tomorrow at 4 p.m. Thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.